What would you say would be a practical way to actively, begin to elevate, understanding what the problem is now? That it's an internal, it's a thing of internal configuration, an adjustment that needs to happen inside. Sometimes we can see that something needs to change, but the how of it then becomes a challenge. So, what would you say, with regards to the immediate how?
First of all, we have to first begin to disrupt, question, and disrupt the legacy of survival that was handed over by the people that came here years ago who had a mentality of escape,
Mm,
and so handed to their children a mentality of survival, right?
mm,
And a mentality of welfare, a mentality of success that hides from your people. Don't
mm.
forget that we also have the weak concept of fetishism and and biological, I mean diabolical, narratives
Yeah.
that suggest that you are being haunted by your people. So you find that people also for years have learned to survive by avoiding their own people because somebody is trying to kill you. Don't let them touch your head. Don't go and eat in this place.
Hide your
Don't visit that
success.
place. Hide your success. Don't tell anybody about your story. Don't do this and all of that.
Mm,
So we have to first find the type of clarity platforms to have this conversation and begin to attack
mm,
those kind of weak thinking, right? The only reason why you are able to kill snakes is because they walk alone. That's the only reason why.
mm.
If you see one snake, we can quickly organize ourselves, three of us, and attack the snake. Even one person can see a snake and attack the snake and kill it. But you know how snakes move, how fast they bite. If you see 50 of them, you will take off because where do you start from? You will take off immediately, right?
Mm,
And that's a proverb where I come from.
mm,
There's a proverb about Moeju that the idea that snakes don't work together is the only reason why people are able to take them out like that.
mm,
So we have to, in resisting that, we have to first start resisting those weak narratives, right, of fear and opaqueness
mm.
and ignorance that has defined, the legacy of journeying, otherwise called immigration, as we have known it,
Yeah.
right? But as we are attacking that on podcasts, conferences, town hall meetings, books, materials, articles are being put out by top leaders like yourself and myself and so many other people who really worry about that space
Mm,
should begin to do that. But in addition to that, we also have to learn the protocol of being an inspiring guest. You see, it's as simple. When you go anywhere you
mm.
don't own, you have to be what I call an inspiring guest. It
Inspiring
means that
guest.
inspiring guest,
Mm,
you unlock the curiosity of your host, right?
mm,
To want to learn more about you and to release more of his power, in the architecture of that learning process.
mm,
But that comes by manifesting at such a level
mm,
that unlocks gratitude within that community.
mm,
You see? You see? So it begins, however, with learning to tell our own stories properly,
mm.
telling our own stories. You go anywhere, they tell you that, you find, maybe white people are worried about Nigerians and how people have been cheated and this and that. And I
The
always say to
Nigerian
people
prince.
in Nigerian trains, and I say to people that, listen, there are more Americans or Canadians or British in jail than Nigerians in jail. In Britain, there are more Canadians in jail in Canada than Nigerians in jail. There are
True.
more Americans in jail in America than Nigerians in jail. Somebody said, well, you have more Americans than Nigerians. Even if you look at the percentage of Nigerians in America versus the percentage of Americans in America, there are still a higher percentage of Americans in jail than the percentage of Nigerians in jail. Nigerians are the most educated community, immigrant community in America. We school, we get noble jobs. Very few Nigerians are committing crime. Very few compared to our population, right? Compared to the number of Americans and the percentage of Americans who commit crime. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the idea is the Americans, however, tell their stories better. We in our division are quick to point fingers at ourselves. I go into meetings where I meet Nigerians speaking about how they distinguish themselves from Nigerians in their office, and they say, I am the different Nigerian. I say, no, you are not the different Nigerian. The criminal Nigerian is the different Nigerian. You are the default. Nigerians like you are the normal Nigerians.
Well said.
The ones they are talking about is the minority of us. So stop saying you are different. You are not different. You are the common. You are the common energy. You are the common
Change the narrative. Yeah.
Yes, that common Nigerian is the exception. You say you don't know Nigerians. You are talking about less than God knows how many percentage of Nigerians that you've met, right? If we don't begin to change the African narrative, the black narrative, not just the Nigerian narrative, but the black narrative as a whole, we have to come into that level of consciousness to understand that whether we like it or not, we are defined by the same reality. Some American told me that, well, you didn't see slave trade. You didn't see, you were not brought to America. You didn't see, all that we have seen here.
Yeah.
You didn't see segregation the way we've seen it. You didn't see racism as we have seen it. I said, listen, let me first of all tell you that for every slave taken out of Africa, for every human being taken out of Africa to America, there's a disjointed family left back in Africa. First of all, let's be clear that every slave represented in America is also proof of the gap that remained in Africa. They took the father, they left the wife and the children. They took the father and the wife, they left the kids. They took the kids, they left the father. They took so it's a mess on both sides. Don't think that it's one side that saw the positive and it's one side that saw the negative. It was a loss on both sides. It's mutual destruction. And in our coming together remains a promise of strength that we have not tapped into. There is a gap that we cannot fill until we learn to see our oneness as Black people. But that is also community and at an helicopter view.
Yes.
But if we step down from there a bit, we have to begin to see that the job we have to do is to learn to come together, to manifest at a level, right, that unlocks the humility and the curiosity of our hosts to want to pursue our difference that we represent. Because life will never define us by our similarities. We are defined by our difference.
That's
but
true.
Our difference is a story that has to be told. So we tell our stories so poorly. We are quick to ascribe, uniqueness to one individual. Oh, I'm not like them. Oh, I'm not like them. It's Nigerians who have this problem. It's Ghanaians who have this problem. Oh, it's Black people. I'm not like them. I'm not that kind of Black person. What do you mean you are not that kind of Black person? Right? Have you done the math to know the number of Black people in the world? To know what percentage of Black people that you are really worried about? Have you checked all these things? Right? So these are symposium discussion. Again, we also have to organize in the communities. We have to understand what is the soul of a community. I was talking to a group of people who were coming together to say, oh, they are forming this chamber of commerce. They are forming this non-profit. I said, wait a minute. Have you visited the mayor's office to ask them, when you see transformation in your city, what will have happened? What does transformation look like for you? What are you worried about? Youths on drugs or entrepreneurs in business? What is the pressing issue for your community as a city? You are the mayor. You are the leaders of this city. When you see change, what does it look like? So that you can know how to pitch your efforts.
Buy into the vision. Yeah, buy into the...
Yeah, you just don't sit down talking to yourselves and say, this is what we want to do. We want to start helping. Is it food that is their priority? Is it education that is their priority? Are they looking for teachers Do you need to start building after school programs as a community? Not every community needs to begin to serve food everywhere, right? Maybe they lack good teachers, and you guys can begin to teach. You can start a teacher program, teach the student, or live or teacher fire program, and begin to organize free after school math class and English classes, and begin to move in that area. You have to find the pain point of a society. You just don't choose your own welfare. No, you don't choose your own generosity. Giving is acceptable on the terms of the recipient, not the giver. So you have to look at the community and say, what do they really need? And from your non-profit, some people come with the same idea of non-profit. They came from Africa. The problems you are facing in Africa is not a problem that is being faced in Frisco, in Dallas, or in Highland Park in Dallas. So if you want to be seen there, first do the fact finding and understand what is it in this place that if we do it, everybody looks at us.
Right.
What is it that if we do, our host will be excited and happy to be a part of what we are doing and even send us more funding, right? So we have to understand that, to see that. We have to understand what the chambers of commerce on ground are prioritizing. What are they seeing? So that we can pitch alongside the pain points, so that every action we are taking is forming a gap. Right. Again, we have to think more institutional. How do we build banks? How do we build credit unions? As opposed to how do we build more houses and real estate and more real estate and more real estate and more real estate? And when you find that successful African, what does he have? A good job with a lot of real estate. That's what he has. Listen, over 95% of successful people who are Africans around you, go check them. What do they have really? What do they have? They either have a good business with real estate, or they have a good job and they're able to buy more real estate. So at the end of the day, that's all we do all day.
Oh, wow.
That's all we do all day. We are not building systems. We are not building structures. We are not building, institutions. We are not building anything. So how do you want your hosts to find you inspired? Don't forget how I began. Inspiring guest. That's who you want to be. That's who you want to be, right? So you also want to see the lore. How do you educate your people on the necessity? So what is your relationship with the chief of police? What is the relationship with the police force in your city? What concerns are they having about immigrants, so that you can be different? See, the Indians get these things. The Jews get these things, right? When you are training your children, all you talk about, in the northern part of Nigeria, God knows how many percentage of kids from the north just want to go into government or civil service or military. That's what they hear all day. The Easterners just want to start a business and trade. The Westerners want to rise to the height of career, and do stuff, right? But we come here with the same mentality. All we think about is we don't care about the passion of our children, because the options available also speak to the deposit of talent and gifting that is available. So over there, where you are coming from, maybe it's really economic pain to be a fireman, but to be a fireman here, you have a life. You can go on summer holiday. You can travel anywhere you want. You can drive a good car. You can own a house. You can do everything you need to do, even if you are a firefighter, right? So how do we talk to our children about having the best expression of themselves? Why can't somebody rise to become the police chief? Why can't kids become the head of the fire service?
Right.
You see, when you are not in the soul of the type of industry that defines a city, how do you want them to see you?
Good question.
And then when we think of investments, even if your kids don't become the police officers, what do we do with the police officers? How much of attention do we give to the police force? Have we gone to visit them? Have we shared our time and efforts with them? Have we educated them about who we are? What are we going to do this Christmas for the police force? What are we in our city? What are we going to do? Are we going to put up a concert for veterans? Are we going to do that? No. What are we going to do? Go see more houses we can pay for. Go see more businesses we can pay for. Attend our own parties. Bring our musicians from Nigeria to an African restaurant and have fun all day. Go see Wizkid. that's all we do. You see, so nobody's going to take us serious. That's just what it is. Except we take our host
My goodness.
serious.
Yeah.
When you take your host serious, that is when you begin to see the necessity of coming together. Because when you start thinking like that, you will see very quickly you can't do much alone to come together.
Absolutely.
We have to come
Absolutely.
together. But when you keep thinking about your house, your security, sending money home, and these low resolution ideas, you will not need anybody. You can be alone. You don't need anybody to buy yourself more houses.
Right.
But when you start thinking bigger, and I tell people, it is the duty of the human spirit to take responsibility for big projects. For big projects. Otherwise, you won't see merchant banking. You will not see the internet. You will not see Apple or Microsoft.
Yeah.
Human beings take those decisions. We need our visionaries to take responsibility for big ideas that unlock gratitude in society.
Right.
That is when we'll begin to see the necessity and the need for collaboration.
This is a huge charge, a charge to the individual, but a charge also to the leaders, anyone who has found themselves, in leadership positions where they have any kind of influence over people in the Black community. There's so much you've said in there that's almost like a list of steps, and strategy for to change a community. There was something that you touched on also that I wanted to speak about, because I had been curious and intended to ask if there's any disparity or any type of dynamics going on between the Black immigrant, to your observation, and the American-born Black person. And you addressed it very, very instructively, when you were speaking about, how one party feels that the other party is not in pain. One party elevates their pain, above the other, because we see that in Canada, particularly in maritime Canada, because we're broadcasting now out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is far east, and here we have the African Nova Scotian community, very strong community, Canadian born for most of them, descendants of the first freed set of slaves, and some of them descendants, of families that had been a community that had been heavily impacted, by slavery. And there is a very interesting dynamic going on there, between that community and the Black immigrant community, where they feel you're kings and queens coming off of the continent, you're very entitled, you have no idea, versus our own experience where, we have, really felt the oppression and the segregation, but I've never thought, to look at it, from this angle before, where we're both deprived in some way. For the families that found themselves in Canada at the end of the day as settled African Nova Scotians, there is, for every family, there is a family back on the continent somewhere, where a gap was created. That is phenomenal and, has the potential to completely change the dynamic on things. On one hand, it's comforting to know that we're not alone, experiencing this disparity. If the Americans are also experiencing it, but on the other hand, it's sad, that the pain is global. The pain is universal.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
We didn't also, and we have to respect the truth that we didn't make. There is a real gap there, and you find that it's so easy for both sides to despise each other. I see that every time. On many levels, the African Americans don't feel that they don't even want to identify with Africa at all. And on many levels, you find the Africans, some of them feel that they are even kind of superior, right? They think they are more skilled, they think they are more, ready, and they are more, engageable. and you know, and it's all flawed ideas that we
Hmm.
have of each other.
Hmm.
Because we are all at the end of the day people of African descent, and we have unique experiences that define the smallness that we manifest, that defines the negativity that we
Hmm.
manifest, but we have a broader, scope of awesomeness that we are yet to tap in,
Yeah.
right? We are yet to tap into, and that is going to come from recognizing that we are one at the end of the day, and there's so much value on both sides that we can give to each other, right? To really tell our stories better,
Hmm.
transform the African narrative better and
Hmm.
the old Black narrative, and begin to understand how much potential we carry for the future. Because see, in the future, Black is an incredible majority in the
Hmm.
world. And I predict every time that Black in the future is more than a color; it's a vibe. and
Hmm.
and
Wow.
and people need to understand that there's so much ahead of us, and people are going to begin to identify as Black people in the future who are not
Hmm.
even Black at all. If you go to Washington, you are going to see cabs that are called yellow cabs.
Right.
They are called yellow cabs, but none of these cars are yellow. Some of them are blue, some of them are red, but they are all called yellow cabs. You know why? Because yellow in that sense is no longer a color, it's a vibe,
Right.
right? And it doesn't matter what the color of the car is, you are a yellow cab, because the concept of yellow in that is already institutionalized as something necessary for all colors,
Hmm.
right? So Black is going to shine.
Hmm.
Listen, and we need to prepare for this amazing season that is our destiny to communicate to the whole world, right? And to do that very humbly and very intelligently, with a
Hmm.
lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
We need to start positioning ourselves now, and fight less and collaborate more,
Hmm.
right?
Very well
So
said.
there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do there, but we
Yeah.
will do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The work, like everything you've said, we have our work cut out for us. Leaders of color out there in every industry, all walks of life. I think definitely need to hear this. It is so, so, so enlightening. And it brings a sense of hope, especially when you speak about, thinking long term, thinking longevity, thinking about systems and structures and all that exciting stuff that somewhere in the rat race or whatever it was, probably, got buried under. And I think this is a good point, to pivot to a very interesting piece of information that reaches us at Community Updates. Your footprint in Canada is about to increase with
Yes,
a program called PK Alone. You're a convener of this Dream Incubator, I think it is,
yes,
where
yes. So
people of African descent are reminded of how to dream and dream big, if I'm correct.
yes,
Please
you are
tell us
correct.
more.
And anybody, actually, doesn't matter your race. I am particularly interested in people of African descent, because we've not demonstrated in the last 100 years a forceful energy of dreaming.
Hmm.
And we need to start dreaming, because dreaming is our heritage as a people. In the human condition, people dream, and nations have been dreamt up. Entire nations have been dreamt up, like the United States of America.
Hmm.
America is not a natural country, it's a human invention.
Hmm.
And dreamers created such a powerful enterprise
Hmm.
in the world. The Jewish nation was dreamt up by human beings. And great organizations like Google, like Apple, like Microsoft, right, like have been dreamt up by human beings. Human beings have dreamt up systems like merchant banking. Human beings have built the pyramid, still one of the wonders in the world today. We can dream. We have to dream. But somehow we miss the truth that no human being is designed to dream. You are designed to position for dreams.
Hmm.
We don't dreams, dreams visit you. Dreams gravitate towards you. Your job is not to dream, Your job is to be able to recognize the arrival of a dream, to host that dream, and to give that dream residency in your life. So many people in history have found themselves in that protocol without even knowing it. But it's time to begin to learn the science and the intentionality of that so that we can begin to reproduce that more predictably as opposed to happenstance or default or providence playing that role in our lives. So we call it dreaming from the future, right? And helping people see how to dream and how dreams visit you, how to recognize the dream because there's a law of recognition, how to host that dream, and how to give that dream residency in your life. And those are a lot of stuff, right? But we have to get more and more comfortable in creating that kind of understanding. And what I'm doing with PK alone is just traveling around the world and putting dreamers into the room. See, it's not a conference. This is not a conference. This is not a seminar. This is not a life group coaching session. No, this is pure thought leadership. It's an immersion, right? You can live 100 years and never really experience a real immersion, a real thought leadership experience. And that's what we are doing here. You can't pay for it. It's not a paid event. You can't pay for it, but you can't come for free either. You must be invited to the event, or you request invitation on the website, pkalone.com. So go to pkalone.com. You will see icons that says request invitation. You can request invitation and hope to be approved, right? Or you can be a sponsor. We have different levels of sponsorship. And if you sponsor the event, you have a number of tickets that you can give to people in your area of influence, your friends, partners, neighbors, or family, or whoever you want to give it to. But we have different levels of sponsorship. But yeah, the goal is just to begin to sit people in the room. Very small room. It's not going to be a lot of people, 100 people, 200 people. That's what we're doing. We've done this already in some parts of Africa. In Nigeria, we did Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt this summer. We did Accra, right? We are doing Maryland this weekend. Silver
In the
Spring,
US?
Maryland. In the US, 2nd of November. And then we're going to do Toronto and Calgary in Canada this year, November 9th, and in Toronto, and November 10th in Calgary, right? We still have Dallas, we have London, we have Houston, and then we call it a year. And then all through next year, we're going to run this in different cities as well. This is our investment in helping people understand that today doesn't create the future. The future creates today. And we have to understand how that works and how people are intelligently sitting in that mix and producing incredible power and influence from that kind of zone. So you should find yourself on the website. Go read it up. It's a lot of read and understand what it's all about. But I tell you, if you have the capacity to be in that room and you are not in that room, I promise you, you will have missed something that will give you a completion you cannot imagine. So go out of your way to get into the room. And I'm not selling. I mean, going out of your way means you are still going to apply and hope to be approved, because we're going to look at your social media. We want to be sure that the room is quality enough with people with a head on their shoulders, who can use that conversation, apply it from the next day. So we are looking for people who don't just want to succeed, people who want to take over the world in that sense. So if you believe that deep inside of you, that somewhere inside of you is a weakness, that at least 1 million people will invest time, energy, and resource in your product, your service, or something you contain, your thought, philosophy, idea, or whatever it is you contain, that sincerely you believe that not less than 1 million people out there will invest their time, energy, and resources in something inside of you, then you are the one that needs to be in that room. Whatever stage you are, whether you are a starter or a veteran manifester, you need to be in that room for your next level of manifestation.
Oh my goodness. It's such exciting stuff. I am so curious, about this. Now, you mentioned 2 cities in Canada. Hopefully there are going to be more. Do you have any idea of what other cities now?
We have more. We have Halifax.
Whoop, whoop.
We have Ottawa. We have
Okay.
that. And listen, people anywhere are free to ask to host the event in their city.
Right.
So if you go to the website, you will see an icon that says host PK alone. So you can host one. You just need to fill the form, reach out to our team, and we will work with you to create one in your city, and yours truly will be there to disseminate it.
Very, very
So we have
exciting
plans
stuff.
for every city in the world. Yes.
PK, thank you so much for coming again on the show. All the best.
You're most
Congratulations on the
welcome.
PK Alone episodes that have taken place. And for the ones that are about to come, all the best. Every time you come on the
Yes.
show,
Yes.
you leave us inspired and fired up with a lot to think about. So we thank you very
I'm
much for
excited.
that. And we look forward to having
You're
you
most
again
welcome.
on Community Updates soon.
Well, we look forward to that.
So you've heard it, folks.
Awesome.
Look out
Awesome.
for PK Alone on pkalone.com in a Canadian city or coming to a Canadian city near you. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.